Peter's Overprotective Family by Hellspawn1804. Chapter 2, 5 months later. Peter Parker Stark slowly opened his eyes to find himself in the medical bay of the Avengers Tower. As soon as he woke up, he panicked. How long was I out? Did Dad find me? Oh, shoot. Why, does he know what happened? I'm so screwed. Wait, why is nobody here? Where is everybody? Also, since when do I have a freaking beard? These were the thoughts that were going through his mind right now. Dr. Helen Cho then came into the room. Oh, Peter! You're finally awake! She said. Peter was confused. Dr. Cho was looking at him like he was asleep for a long time. Well, Peter did have a beard, so it wasn't impossible. Peter was scared of the answer, yet he asked anyway. How long was I out, Doctor? Helen seemed nervous. Peter, I don't know how to tell you this without shocking you. Your injuries were too severe for you to wake up anytime soon. Any ordinary person would have died if they had been injured like you had. You went into a coma the day you got injured. That was 5 months ago. Wait. What? He was in a coma for 5 months? What the fuck? What the actual freaking fuck? He shouted, not caring about the swear words he used. He had missed 5 months of his life. Okay, so it wasn't as if he'd missed 5 years, but still. God knows how many Star Wars Legos he had missed. After a mini panic attack, Peter wanted to meet everyone. But before he could ask, Friday, the Avengers walked into the medbay. Pepper and Tony immediately took Peter into their arms. Oh my God, Peter, I'm so glad you're awake. I was so worried, came his mum's voice, trembling with joy. His dad didn't speak, but instead engulfed Peter in a hug. The others were just standing there, but happy nonetheless. His mama Spider, Natasha, was standing there with tears in her eyes. Steve, Bruce, Clint and Sam were smiling. Thor had the biggest smile out of all of them, and Loki had the tiniest of smirks on his lips. After the initial joy of seeing his family, Peter came straight to the point. Okay, guys, what did I miss? He could see that his family, even his mum, started to get nervous. Peter was sure that they had done something that Pepper would normally not approve of, but this time he was curious as to why Pepper herself had taken part. Summoning his inner Spider-Man interrogation skills, SMISTM, he demanded, Guys, spell now. Tony decided, Well, you see, Pete. Flashback. Peter, he's gone into a coma. The moment Tony heard those words, he was planning in his head ways to murder Flash Thompson. A few hours after Bruce had given the news, he went to see Peter. His son looked so peaceful. One might assume he was sleeping. Well, a coma is a sleep that no one can wake you up from. You had to do it yourself. And Peter wouldn't be able to do so for 5 months. 5 months! God, how was he going to be able to survive 5 whole months without Peter by his side? Quoting memes or whatever teenagers watch these days. And Star Wars references. Tony could only imagine how Pepper was feeling. She could only take so much. And Natasha. If anyone loved Peter more than Tony or Pepper, it was her. But worrying about how they would have to adjust without Peter for a few months would have to wait. First, Tony needed confirmation on what happened to his son, and who was behind it. He knew it was mainly Flash, but he needed to know who else was involved. So, Tony and the Avengers and Pepper watched Peter's memories of the past 2 months with the combined help of Barf. He really needed a new name for that, and Peter's nanotech tracker, which helped access the memory part of his mind. And they saw the teachers of Midtown, who were supposed to put a stop in the bullying, take part in said bullying themselves. To put the cherry on top, the combined forces of all the teachers and all the bullies of Midtown School were the reason that Peter, their Peter, was now in a coma. Then came the part when Flash threw Peter in a dumpster. And Tony saw red. It seemed as if the Avengers were going to pay a definitely not friendly visit to Peter's school. Line break. When Principal Morita saw the Avengers and Pepper Stark barging into his office, he thought his school was in danger and that they were there to evacuate everyone. What he didn't expect, however, was for them to demand that he call all the teachers and Flash Thompson to his office immediately. Seeing that they were the Avengers, he decided it was best that he did as they said. Will all the teachers and Mr. Thompson kindly report to the principal's office? Hearing the announcement, everyone was puzzled, especially Ned and MJ. They had recovered from their illness that morning and were wondering why Peter hadn't come to school. There were rumours that he had been expelled, but seeing that Flash had spread them, they took no notice. Maybe he's ill too, suggested Ned. Yeah, maybe. Whatever, came MJ's reply. When the teachers and Flash finally entered the office, they were also shocked that the Avengers had come to school. Perhaps they had come for organising some form of event at their school. So Principal Morita decided to address the elephant in the room. So what brings our mightiest heroes here to our school? Do you want to schedule an event here? We would be honoured. But he was interrupted by Tony. Actually, we're here because my son has been severely injured by all of you. And I found out that he has also been bullied for the past 2 months. So, we came here to ask you what the fuck you were thinking. Flash did not like the anger in the man's voice. Your son, sir? I don't understand, came Morita's reply. This time it was Pepper who spoke up. I think you all know him. Peter Parker Stark. Or as you know him, Peter Parker. Name ring any bells? The teachers felt like they just witnessed the scariest horror movie in existence come to life. Flash was so scared that he nearly pissed his pants. Yes, the internship is real. He's not my biological son, but he's my adopted son. I think it's listed there in the parental contacts list that we're his parents. If you even bothered to check, said the voice of Tony. Principal Morita checked the list and saw that Tony and Pepper Stark were indeed listed in the contact info of Peter Parker Stark. How did he even miss this? Then everyone was shown the footage of the incident through Peter's point of view that Tony had recorded. The teachers tried to show remorse for their actions, but it was fake, and they know it. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Because of you, my son is now in a coma. If it hadn't been for Tony, he would be dead right now. You think a normal person can take that many beatings, get thrown in a dumpster, and you expect him to survive all of that? Pepper shouted. If Flash hadn't pissed his pants before, he sure did now. Peter was in a coma because of him, but he'd only roughed him up a little because he'd lied about the Stark internship. He hadn't done anything more, right? Right? Wrong. The internship was not only real, but Peter was the son of Tony Stark. Flash saw his life play in his mind in a flash. The people were then taken to a secluded classroom, the same one they had beaten Peter in, and were given the beating of their lives. Some had every one of their bones broken, some had their muscles torn, and some were left barely breathing. Flash got the worst luck of them all. After all, he had let slip that he was 18. He had gotten his groin punched 3 times by Nat, his shoulders pierced by arrows, Clint, his throat bruised because of Bucky strangling him, his ribs broken because of a vibranium shield being gently slammed into him, not sideways but face up, burn marks on his arms from repulsors, knives in his thighs from Loki, and a broken foot because of a hammer being dropped on his foot. The wrath of Thor. He was lucky that he was even able to survive the beating. It took all the self-control in the universe to stop them from killing him. 3 months after the beatdowns, the teachers were registered as sex offenders in all the states and were sentenced to 3 years in jail for assaulting a minor. After they were just discharged from the hospital, of course. Their families left them to rot. As for Flash, his parents were sued by SI, but Pepper absolutely decimated them, lost everything they owned, and were sentenced to 34 years in jail for their crimes. Flash himself had lost any and all chances of graduating school and was sentenced to 5 years in jail for assault and attempted murder. When he got out, the best job he could ever get was an assistant to a beggar in Hell's Kitchen. He also kept getting the worst mental conditions possible, and he lost his grip on his sanity day by day. But no one needed to know that, except for a certain Scarlet Witch. Karma is a bitch with a capital B. And flashback, "You what?" shouted Peter. He didn't think his family, the freaking Avengers, would take such drastic measures to ensure his safety. Apparently they would. Tony was at a loss for words, which was new. Pepper then said, "Honey, I know this is a great shock for you, but they hurt you. And if you're worried about us, don't worry. The press supported our decision wholeheartedly when they found out what they did." Peter's heart almost stopped beating. "You mean everyone knows who I am?" he asked. Tony smirked. "Yeah, they do. We decided to announce it to the world after your friend Ned accidentally blurted it on Twitter. Spider-Man is still secret though, so you're safe in that department." Peter was still shocked, but strangely at the same time, he was grateful. This meant the Flash could no longer bully him or anyone else ever again. And he hugged his family. Peter was sure of 2 things. He had the best family in the whole world, and that the next time he saw Ned, he was going to kill him. End of story. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that because that's quite funny. I know the Avengers go overboard, but sometimes you just need to see someone go overprotective. And I love that about the Avengers. They will genuinely protect each other despite their fighting. One of my favourite things in fan fiction is this: Peter being the small lovable being who brings the Avengers together as a family by making every single one of them love him. Hence my love of the Avengers vs. the Peter Factor by Midnight Wolf 2192. I am going to do Infinity Redux soon, I promise. It's just been a long month, okay? I love you guys. Bye!